What is up, everyone? Welcome to the Sales Ninja Show podcast. I have a special guest where we're going to help you to sell more, to give more. I met Justin at another mastermind. I'm not sure if I'm going to say his last name properly, so I will give him the liberty of sharing that. Justin is a visionary CEO and founder of Financial Freedom, dedicated to empowering business owners to achieve their dream lifestyle through financial mastery. With a passion for helping business owners live their dream lives fueled and funded by their dream business, Justin believes in the transformative power of taking control of your financial destiny. Amen. Driven by this conviction, Justin and his team at Journey to Financial Freedom provide unparalleled financial coaching and consulting services, equipping business owners with proven systems, strategies to optimize personal and business finances, scale their businesses correctly, and attain true autonomy and freedom. Through intention, strategy, and hard work, Justin helps business owners unlock new levels of success in both their personal and professional lives. Justin currently resides in Cockeysville with his wife, 2 dogs, and daughter Peyton. So let's get started.
Hey, brother, I appreciate the welcome. The last name is Buonamo. Took me till I was like 10 years old to be able to pronounce it, and it's one of those fun last names that it's Italian, but like there's 3 different pronunciations somehow. So it's actually Bonomo, which means good man in Italian, but somehow over the years it's turned into Buonamo. So usually when people just guess at it, I'm like, yeah, you're good enough, close enough. So
it's like Geronimo, but with a B. Buonamo.
That's exactly it. That's how I explain it. So perfect.
I love it.
Thank you for the intro, man. I'm excited to be here.
Hey, thanks for being here. And I've heard so much about you through Alex, and so I'm excited to have you on here. I know we have a brief and amazing time, so we want to make the most of it. So let's dive right in. So let's go back a little bit from your earlier years. I mean, did you always like counting coins and dollars? Were you always into money? Or is it something that you kind of were forced into? Did someone have to kidnap you and force you into this kind of role? What happened? How'd you get into this role?
Oh, such a good question. I've never been asked that before. At least
there you go.
And so when I was younger, I didn't really apply myself too much in school, whether that was elementary school, middle school, high school. It was really until college when I started to apply myself.
Wow.
Yeah.
You're a late bloomer.
Yeah, a very late bloomer.
That's awesome.
And so when I was in elementary school, though, one thing that did come natural to me was numbers. So I was always very good at math. I don't want to say I enjoyed numbers. I think it's sometimes like I liked how people were always like, oh, he's so good at numbers. Like, your parents like, oh, ask him to do something math wise. Right. And so like I take a liking to it, like in that front, because it kind of got me like what I thought was like, acceptance and acknowledgement from other people. But, as I got older, particularly in college, like undergrad degree, I did a dual undergrad degree in nursing and pre-med, which was very science-based. Yeah. The intentions of becoming a physician. But I got to the end of my 4 years and I was like, lack of a better depiction here. I was kind of like, screw medical school. I'm not going back to medical school for 4 more years, do 4 years of residency and just live that crazy lifestyle. But I still wanted to be in healthcare, but also at the same time, I had like this business side of me, if you will, like business intrigued me, numbers intrigued me. And so I got my master's in healthcare management. So an MHA. Master's in Healthcare Administration. And so I then worked on the business side of the hospital. And so that's really only my, before my career, before even my master's degree, like my only tie to numbers and money, particularly numbers, was being good at math when I was younger. But then really most impactfully, what really truthfully happened that gained my interest, I guess you could say, with finance was when I was 10 years old, my parents filed for bankruptcy for the second time. Right.
Wow.
And because of that, it was probably for other reasons as well, but we lost a lot of things. One, they got a divorce, right? So we ended up losing our house. We lost our cars. And
oh my gosh,
they moved to rental properties. Like we couldn't purchase another home because they just filed for bankruptcy. No one's going to approve you for a mortgage.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Approved for leases and rent. And so those rental properties didn't allow pets. And I had a Rottweiler at the time, my best friend, Jake. I think I had him for 3 years and I had to give him away. Right?
Oh, it's so heartbreaking.
All of this happened because of what seemed to be at the time because of money. And so that's really where the interests and everything started, if that makes sense.
Whoa, that's a lot. I mean, you just unpacked so much there. I want to just backtrack a little bit here. So you're in the pre-med, which, I actually was also pre-med as well, so I can
Remember
relate
that?
with you. And clearly I'm not doing anything in that area because my parents wanted me to be a dentist, doctor, or lawyer, and I had little to no desire. I took a zero or almost zero business course until university and really enjoyed it.
Yep.
Went to do a post-diploma after doing a science and business degree in university and did a not master's, a post-diploma in marketing management. And then I did a master of divinity to become a pastor. All that to say is we don't ever know. I'm a late bloomer like you, so I can completely relate. You went through a lot of turmoil. I mean, like 10
Mm.
years old. Is that when you said that your parents filed for bankruptcy and that's when they also got divorced as well?
Yeah, yeah, basically within months of each other.
So tell me about that because I know that can be a very traumatic and a very crucial time in your life and in your childhood. That's a fracture that happens that can, affect, harm, traumatize, whatever vantage point you look at it. How did that affect you?
I kind of see the bankruptcy and the divorce as kind of like two separate events, though they were
Mm,
related and close in time.
hmm
I think, but the similarities between both of them is that it just completely ripped the carpet out from underneath me. Like what I
I
thought my
bet.
life was and normal. And,
Yeah.
at 10 years old,
Yeah.
like that's when you're starting to really pay, like starting to figure out like other things and paying attention to like finer details. And like your parents can't like whisper behind you anymore. You know what I mean? Like you're not naive anymore. You're starting to pick up on how things go. But up until that point, from what I can remember, it seemed like my life was perfect, like parents. And the crazy part is they were making good money at the time. Right. So
Mm,
making good money, got a nice house, got a great group of friends, right? Siblings were healthy, family was good, at least from the outside looking in, had a, going to a good school, great at sports, like had my interests, had my hobbies. And then all of a sudden it's like, hey, I don't have parents that are together anymore. And
wow.
also we don't have any money anymore. And like
Wow.
we went from going to the mall every weekend to like, I now can't even go to soccer practice because my dad can't afford to pay the coach, you know?
Holy smokes.
And I think a lot of the issues like with the bankruptcy particularly is like, at that time, you had home phones and the phone was ringing off the hook because it was debt collectors calling and I'm picking
Oh
up
my
those calls,
gosh. You're
right?
picking them up.
Yeah, like not my like my parents weren't telling me, hey, you go pick it up. Like they're at work or
Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
at the gym or something, and the phone rings. And like back in the day, you didn't have cell phones, you had home
Yeah. Yeah.
phones. So if the phone
Yeah. Yeah.
rang, like you pick it up. And so just like, whoa, like this is serious, right? Um, and then when my parents got divorced for a little bit, my dad and we stayed in the house that I grew up. So I actually stayed with my dad throughout the divorce, which was pretty crazy. Because as I got
Mm,
older, I really realized that like he was one of the bigger reasons why they got divorced. I mean, my mom always was like, "You will understand one day. You're too young for me to have this conversation with you right now," which was really
wow.
amazing of her because I hated her during the 5 to 7 years it took me to actually figure out what happened. And I
Wow.
stayed with my dad, and we stayed in our childhood home that used to be my family's home. And so it felt like I lost everything in the blink of an eye, which still
Yeah.
I carry with me because
Yeah.
I honestly, right before I was just getting on this call, my buddy Nick, who is a deacon at his father-in-law's church, he's kind of a great spiritual mentor for me. And he was like, where do you think that you can improve with your relationship for Christ the most? That was just the conversation,
Yeah.
the question he just asked me right before I hopped on here. And I was like,
Wow.
getting away from thinking or truthfully understanding. I mean, I'm just going to read it. It's right here because it's
Yeah. Yeah.
related
Yeah.
to this.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's what I have as repercussions of this. And I said,
Yeah.
understanding his love for me, and it's not a tit for tat type of thing, and that I am
Mm,
forgiven and I'm not going to be punished out of nowhere for the past versions of me and the actions that come with those. I really struggle with
mm,
accepting how blessed I am despite my past. And a part of
mm.
that past being like, it just seemed like just out of nowhere that the other shoe just dropped on my family when I was 10. And I carry that with me. I'm like, just any day now, the other shoe's going to drop and my life is just going to completely change like it did when I was 10. And so it shows up in many ways.
Dude, I mean, I can't even imagine. Like, I have three kids, and my youngest is 10, who just turned 11.
Mm.
And, she is like our princess. She's our youngest. She's very, affectionate, touchy, very like, always wants to be around us to snuggle. I can't even imagine what you went through. that you had like the carpet ripped out from underneath you and how that affected your relationships with people, your trust in people of authority and family? Because there's a sense of betrayal that
Mm.
happened. Like, and I don't know if you felt this, but I know a lot of people feel like when parents divorce, they feel like they're the reason
Mm. Mm.
that because and parents sometimes say you know because of you, if we didn't have kids and in you know dot dot dot,
Right.
there's a sense of like you know I'm the reason why you know my parents you know
Mm.
didn't stay together, right? Any of those thoughts come your way?
Not really that I was the reason, but I think just frustration with how fast it happened because they were being good parenting around. Like I'm 10 years old. What are they going to do? Tell me like every day or every week leading up to the divorce and the bankruptcy, like what's going on? Like they
Mm,
just kept it from us what they thought to was to protect us, but it
mm,
turned a progressive situation into like an immediate out of left field situation for me, which
mm,
ended up being more traumatic than the progressive situation would have been. And so I don't really hold myself or ever did hold myself at fault for it.
yeah, good.
But the confusion and
Mm,
the lack of equipness that came with the conversations that I had to have with people, like my friends, like, wait, I thought your parents were happy. Why did they get a divorce? Or wait, I thought you guys had money. Like, why are you like broke now?
mm,
Like, and I didn't
mm,
know how to answer those questions. Like, and
mm,
so like more so frustration instead of
mm.
feeling like it was my fault.
Good. I mean, good in the sense that you don't take the blame, which is great. So there's a lot of emotions that I'm, you know, imagining that you're going through as a 10-year-old: sense of loss, the betrayal from your parents, the childhood getting robbed in some sense at one of the most influential times of your life, because that's a
Right.
very formative years. And even also being, you know, staying with your dad and realizing that, you know, he was a big part of the reason of why, you know, that split happened. Let's fast forward today, and then we're going to go into your business in just a bit. But like, where are things today? I don't want to leave the cliffhanger as like, you know, this is what happened, this is the
Mm.
past, and it was a train wreck. Is there any redemption, reconciliation? Is there? I mean, I don't know, and not that we have to, but just
Yeah.
curious.
Yeah. Up until recent, which was really cool to see, my parents are really good friends. Like we don't
Oh,
right
really?
now, like our my sister and my mom and I, like for good reasons, we haven't talked to my dad in a while. Um,
Mm,
but for the same reasons that, he lost everything when I was 10, he's
mm,
hasn't owned those and transformed through them. But
mm,
I think aside from those last couple of years before that, like it was really cool to see my parents become good friends, right? Like they would
mm.
come to my college lacrosse games together, and honestly, before these past couple of years, like when they would interact with each other, people didn't even realize that they were split up.
Wow,
They
for
were just
real, eh?
good friends and they were able, which was cool to see. And it made things easy for the family. The first couple of years, very rocky, but like it was
Mm,
really cool to see. So that's one thing I can definitely
mm,
take positively from it. And another thing that I
mm,
can take positively from it is this: my mom has decided to learn from those mistakes, and she does a really good job with managing her finances now, right? And a big
mm,
part of the bankruptcies were abuse of credit cards, and she realized that like
mm,
credit cards aren't the problem; they're a piece of plastic. Where they go wrong is when
mm,
the human being decides to misuse and abuse it. And so
mm,
she has done a really good job, particularly over the past 2 to 3 years, with making more money, managing it
mm.
accordingly, leveraging credit cards the right way, and just learning from her mistakes like you would hope anybody would do. And so it'd be really cool. Like when we had when we found out we were pregnant, my mom very responsibly, bought us a ton of stuff, which made her feel good.
Wow,
And
amazing.
so she bought the crib, she like all the big expensive stuff. And at a point in time, we're like, yo, like she's got to relax. Like half of our registry is already gone before the
Oh,
baby
she bought
shower
half the
even comes up.
registry?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. She was
Wow.
going ham on the registry. And
Oh
then
my
everything that
gosh.
didn't get purchased from the baby shower, she purchased afterwards. But it was done responsibly, which was cool. Like she used her
That's
credit card,
amazing.
got the cashback rewards, paid it off immediately before the interest were due, and even before swiping in the first place, it was all budgeted for, which was really cool to see. And so she took her mistakes financially and parental wise from the first go around and learned from them and implemented those learning lessons in the second go around with the grandchildren.
Incredible. What a
Yeah.
great story. Does part of that story, or did part of that story help you get to where you are today to help people in that journey to financial freedom? Or is that just kind of it just
Absolutely.
happened as a coincidence? Oh, it happened on purpose?
Absolutely. Yeah. A huge part
Mm,
of it because I remember 10 years old when I was getting this news broken to me. I remember exactly where I was. I was sitting on the couch and things just went gray. But I remember telling myself though, like when I can control it one day, I will never
mm,
let my family go through what I went through because of money. Right. And
mm,
as I got older, right, like that stayed true. But as I got older, something else that got added into that truth was like, why just stop at myself? Why not try to help
mm,
as many people as I possibly can? Because the number one reason for divorce in the United States, at least on paper, what they blame it on is money,
mm-hmm.
right? 95% of Americans are financially illiterate, right? And the majority of people's stresses and anxieties in life are all rooted to money, and the majority of those stresses and anxieties are avoidable. And so I was like, why not just help other people? And so fast forward a little bit, when I finished my master's degree, I got a senior leadership position at Johns Hopkins Hospital. And I was wise enough to realize that like if I stayed in the corporate world, all I was going to do was just going to make more money. And I was just going to climb the ladder. And every time I climb the ladder, I get a promotion, which comes with more money. Right. And I didn't want to be that guy who was making a lot of money, but had no money. Right. Every time I made more money, the goalpost moved. Right.
Mm,
I didn't want to, every time I made more money, got into more bad debt. Right. I had to
mm,
posture proof and protect myself every time I made more money. Like I
mm,
wanted to be the guy who was making money and smart with it. Right. And, thankfully through that motivation and through that wisdom that I at least had at a young age, I was able to build systems, right, for my personal finances based off the things that I was learning at Hopkins. Because I basically had positions that ran the hospital from a business standpoint. And a lot of them
okay.
have financial responsibility and budgeting and P&L responsibilities
Mm,
with it. So I just took those skills, implemented it in my
mm,
personal life, and started getting great results. Right. And
mm,
then I would, give it the system to my friend, to a couple of my family members. And after, a couple of years, I'm like, oh my goodness, I have something here. Right.
mm.
And
That's
that's what
beautiful.
I heard this podcast from Ed Milet's marketing team years ago. That's honestly when
Mm,
I had an hour drive when I switched from JHH to one of Hopkins Community Hospitals called Howard County Community Hospital. It was about an hour
yeah,
drive with traffic, and I would
yeah,
listen to a
yeah,
podcast on the way there and a podcast on the way home.
yeah,
A lot of faith-based ones.
yeah.
Usually in the beginning, it was a sermon, and on the way home, it was a business or motivational self-help one,
Love it.
and very, very I attribute that very much to me starting my business. But I heard
Mm,
this concept on one of Ed Milet's podcasts from his marketing and branding team. And they said that, if you're, a highly skilled person in the corporate world, right? And you've
mhm,
got a good education, you've got a good income, you've got a good skill set, you can work for yourself, right? And where your
mm,
business lies is in the intersection between your passion and your expertise. In that intersection,
mm.
business. So I had a passion for helping other people and an expertise with finances. And boom, right in that intersection was JFF, Journey to Financial Freedom. And that's where it started.
Wow, beautiful. I think you said something that was really important, and I was talking to an old friend that, when I make more money, the goalpost moves. He was in software sales, corporate software sales for 25 years, super successful. But the goalpost kept moving, and it was hard to reach quota because it became unattainable. And then him and a bunch of other colleagues got let go, even though they helped scale this software company. So it's kind of like they're looking for young guns. They can pay them less. Now they got young blood. It's a really, and he got sick to his stomach and he was burnt out, saying, why am I doing this? Because now it's not even about the client. It's about the company and the profitability, right? So tell me about this intersection of passion and expertise, because this journey to financial freedom, like you said, 95% of Americans are illiterate, financially illiterate.
Yeah.
And the number one reason for divorce is potentially because of money. So it's almost like you have this calling and gifting to help one of the biggest problems in probably North America. What
Mm.
is your plan to, I know it's a big question, but what is your plan to help eradicate or reverse this? I have the same why, which is reverse generational poverty and help people get free to be able to fund passion projects that are near and dear to them, which is like missionaries, building clean water, orphanages, freeing children from child trafficking, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a great question. I think what comes to mind for me is that, like, A lot of people, particularly our ideal clients, we work with business owners. They know how to make money. They just don't know how to manage it or keep it. Right. And making money and keeping money are two completely different skill sets. And the first one's almost useless without the second one.
So true.
And usually the second one, keeping money just comes down to humility. Right. And so we have a proprietary process, if you will. So we do financial coaching and strategy for business owners. And those terms are used intentionally. And so we have found what gets best results is this system or this process that I'm going to lay out, right? When our clients first come to us, right, they know, again, how to make money. They just have no idea how to manage it, keep it, and multiply it, right? And so what we do is we help them first. Step one, implement the right systems around their personal and business finances and build a better relationship with money. Some would call an abundant mindset, right? Because it's a super important part of the process, because your external wealth is just a reflection of your internal wealth. Right?
So good.
Negative mindset, skills, thoughts around money, guess what your external reality is going to reflect? Those thoughts. And so even wealthy people, like, even people that are, hip to the game, they still have mindsets and paradigms and traumas and experiences that they have to work through to ultimately things at a belief level to then enhance the behaviors that are a result of those beliefs. And so this is kind of tie that point up, like our reality is a direct correlation to our behaviors. Our behaviors are a direct correlation to our beliefs, and our beliefs are formed through our traumas and experiences in life. Right. So while we implement the right systems with your business, and personal finances in conjunction, we're working on, that internal world. And then once those things are in place, then we start to implement the right strategies, right, around your financial goals. And so we talk about, when it comes to your financial strategies, you have to understand what we call unique variables, right? Which what make you different as a human being, right? Those things need to be considered and implemented into your strategies, particularly around your finances, if you want to get best results, optimal results, right? Because what makes me a unique human being is going to, like I said, dictate the strategy that gets optimal results. Because what works for me may not work for you, or at least may not get the best results. And what works for you may not work for somebody listening to this, because we're all unique humans. Like, could we all do the same thing and get good results with general or blanket advice? 1000%. But why in the world would you want to settle for good when you can get optimal, particularly when it comes to your finances? Because the gap in between good and optimal, right, when it comes to your finances, is extremely costly, and that's not even just monetarily, right? And so that's the first thing when it comes to that second step, the strategy, understanding your unique variables, right? And then from there, like cadence of accomplishments is what we call it, right? People get confused, like, oh, should I pay this card down first? Should I buy a house here? Should I invest in the stock market? Should I put my money in the business? Right. So cadence of accomplishments, after we understand your unique variables, we then help you understand what makes most sense for you to go after first, second, third, and what are some things that we can run in parallel. For example, right, let's just say you had a goal of fixing your credit and buying a house. We should probably fix your credit first to optimize the whole purchase process. Right. And then let's just say you had goals of making more money and saving more money. We could probably run those in parallel. Right. And so point being is like that's step step two, is like after the systems and relationships are in place, now the strategies go in place. Now we shift our focus to your income. We always say more money is not the solution until it is. Right. And so it doesn't make sense for us to teach people how to make more money immediately if you can't handle your current situation correctly. If you don't have the systems and the strategies and the mindset in place to handle an increased income, like there is no sense in us teaching you how to make more money. Right. So we're not against making more money. It just got to make sense. And so now when those foundations that I just laid out, step one, step two, systems, relationship, and strategies are in place, now we can start making more money. And the majority of our ideal clients are business owners. So that means their income is coming from the business. So now it's time to optimize the business. Right. Once that is done, step four comes into place, because now you're making a heck of a lot more money. And hopefully that means profiting a lot more money. You used to have $1,000 left over before. Now you got $20,000 left over. Now we need to understand how to multiply that on the back end to diversify your financial freedom vehicle portfolio. Right? People say you want to diversify your investments all the time, which is great. Right? But we want you to, after you optimize your current financial freedom vehicle, which is your business, right? Now let's use the leftover funds to buy and grow and feed other assets. So like, okay, I have JFF, which is one of my financial freedom vehicles. We're also financially free based off what we have in the stock market. Right? And we've got other businesses as well that make us financially free, right? So if one of these vehicles are down, right, the other ones are up, and we're still up in totality. And that's truthfully about not only how you become financially free, but how you become financially unshakable. And that's the process that we take people through.
Sorry, I'm taking notes. This is great. Yeah. So I know we gotta go. So I want to thank you for your time. There's a lot of things here. I want to ask you to leave with this note. Like, first of all, who is your ideal client? And I know you have a couple of free gift links where I think there's a connection call, and a free masterclass. Who's your ideal client? And what does the free gift link do from the connection call and the masterclass?
Yeah. So our ideal client is a business owner, right? That wants to, become financially free and live their dream life. And they realize that learning how to manage their money and build wealth is pivotal for that process. And so real quick, financial freedom, right? If this sounds of interest for you and you're a business owner, you're our ideal client. So our definition of financial freedom is owning an asset or assets that make you enough money each month automatically to cover your expenses and your lifestyle, whether you choose to show up or not. And that asset is your business, right? So I'm financially free. My financial freedom vehicle, that asset, is my business. And so if you're a business owner who wants financial freedom, simply put, you just want to wake up each day and not have to worry about money and live the life that you want to live and show up in your business the way that you want to show up, and you're our ideal client, right? Perfect. And so the free webinar that we have that we're giving away is actually one that I did for our exclusive community, which we have permission to give away for free. And it's a training that I do called How to Make and Save More Money.
Wow.
Right? And so both, like we talked about this, both are important skill sets, but you need both of them to make them make sense. And then you guys all know how this works, right? If you're interested in me and our services and figuring out how we can help you, if you feel like we're that missing piece from where you're at now and where you want to be, then just book a call with one of my team members. It's a super laid back call, right? We'll give you all the information that you need about us. You'll gather all the information. We'll get a lot of information that we need about you, and we'll figure out if and how we can help you. If we can't, great, right? But if we can, we'll talk to you about how that looks and how to move forward. Right?
Awesome. Shout out to Gladys. She said, thank you for sharing your knowledge on scaling and financial freedom. Gladys, if you want to learn more, feel free to reach out to Justin Buonamo, like Geronimo, but with the B. We're going to put all the links in the show notes and the comments. Justin, I know that we have to rush here because you had another appointment that you need to get to. We'll probably need to do a part 2 on your faith and personal growth, and also health and wealth. So thank you so much for your time today. And again, if you guys are looking to sell more, to give more, and you want to be on the podcast, comment podcast. Again, Justin, thank you so much for your time. And everyone else, thank you for tuning in.
Of course, brother. Thank you for having me. And I love a good excuse for a part 2. So I'll see y'all soon.
There you go. Take care, brother. Massive.